there's a really big movie coming out that may or may not do really super well, which is Aquaman 2. The first film, of course, made over $1 billion. The only film in the DCEU ever to accomplish that thing. And it was a fun little movie. I don't apologize for that at all. I thought it was a really fun little film. Like, great cinema, as Marty Scorsese might suggest. No, maybe not. It have its issues? Sure it did, but it was fun. And I love Jason Momoa in this role. I really do. And, go ahead, shoot me. I liked Amber Heard's casting in it. And I thought she was good. And of course, the person who cast her, Zac Snyder, has, throughout all the controversy surrounding the situation with Amber Heard, has steadfastly stood by her. Not only, verbally supporting her, but then when it came time to do the Zac Snyder cut of Justice League, he put her right back in there. He put her back in for that post-credit scene with Joker and all that kind of stuff. Which is whatever. Well, anyway, he was recently asked, he's got that new, really interesting looking film coming out. 2 of them, actually, Rebel Moon, with Sofia Boutella and Jax from Sons of Anarchy. I'm quite interested in that movie. I'm looking forward to watching that. Well, he was directly asked about all the stuff surrounding Amber Heard, and he 100% came to her defense, and he's basically even saying, I'll work with her again in a second. This is what came to us from the folks over at Screen Rant who wrote this. As per the Hollywood Reporter, Snyder defends Amber Heard. According to Snyder, he, quote, just doesn't get it when people say they dislike her. The director would work with her in a second. Check out Snyder's full comment below. And then his direct quote is, I just don't get it. If other people don't like her, I don't know what to say. I would work with her in a second. Now, what's interesting to me about that is, number one, it's very well timed. The people at Warner Brothers are thrilled that Zac Snyder's saying that right now because they've got Aquaman 2 coming out really soon. And one of the big things of conversation, understandably, that comes up whenever somebody mentions Aquaman 2 is, I ain't going to see it because Amber Heard's in it. Now, there's a little bit of Mandela effect that goes around with Amber Heard. A lot of people mention that she lost the lawsuit. True, but a lot of people also forget that the first lawsuit that happened, which was in the UK. Again, I'm just stating a fact. Don't get mad at me for just quoting a fact.
Nope, too late. I'm mad.
Too late. I'm mad. But the fact is,
the internet's always reasonable.
Yeah. I know. The internet's always reasonable. The reality is the first trial that happened in the UK, in rendering out their decision, the judges specifically wrote in it that the accusations made against Johnny Depp that he was a quote unquote wife beater were, and I quote, substantively true. The evidence showed that the claims that he was a wife beater were substantively true. That happened too. And then, of course, the American trial happened, in which was a pretty definitive win for Johnny Depp and whatever. And look, everybody agrees. It's just a bloody mess.
Yeah, it's a shit show.
And it's left everybody's career in pieces and in shambles, fairly or unfairly. And it's just kind of interesting right now. And look, I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush here. And correct me if you think I'm wrong about this. But I found in online discourse, at least from my own personal observations, and again, correct me if you think I'm wrong, I found a lot of times that some of the more vocal anti-Amber Heard people were Zac Snyder fans. And I just, and again, maybe I'm wrong about that. That was just my observation. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's really interesting hearing Zac Snyder at this point come out and specifically and very definitively come out in defense of Amber Heard. And of course, he's worked with her a long time. He's got a personal relationship with her. He knows her, and saying, I would work with her again in a second. Obviously I'd put her in my movies again, which would be very interesting to see how his own fan base would respond were he to do that. So it's just interesting to see. Again, I wouldn't even care about this so much if it wasn't for the fact that we got Aquaman coming out any minute now. And despite how important the character was in the first movie, I believe out of all the trailers, there has been one shot of Mera. A lot of talk about the fact that she's married to Aquaman now. A lot of talk about the fact that they have a baby. But in all the promotional things, I've seen one shot of Mera, which is like that thing where she's behind a big thing of glass and she's trying to knock the glass. Yeah. That's maybe I've missed something else, but that's the only thing they're putting her in, because they do not want Amber. They don't want, when people are talking about Aquaman 2, for the conversation to become about Amber Heard. which they haven't been able to prevent, but they're just trying not to feed into it more. So I get that. Anyway, Chris, I thought it was very interesting that Zac Snyder made these comments. And listen, too, I think what this will also do for Zac Snyder, for a lot, because he's always stood by all the actors that have worked with him, right? I mean, he hasn't come out and said be very supportive of Ezra Miller, but he's never come out and spoken against Ezra Miller. I think one of these things is saying to a lot of actors out there, it's like, hey, if you work with me, I'll always have your back. I mean, and what's that?
Ride or die.
Right? Yeah. Once you work with me, I will always have your back. That he didn't say that, but that's kind of the message coming out here. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, Masterclass. Guys, you know, as a small business owner, I am finding myself having to be in negotiations all the time, whether it's with new contractors, vendors, or even agencies that represent our company. Now, I don't like to go into these negotiations unarmed, so I found the perfect class on Masterclass, The Art of Negotiation by Chris Voss, a real-life former FBI lead hostage negotiator. Taking this class on Masterclass made me feel a lot more equipped and confident going into all these various negotiations I have to do on a regular basis. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. An annual membership starts at just $10 a month, and you get unlimited access to every instructor, thousands of online lessons, exclusive content, insight, and much more. There are over 180 classes to pick from, everything from filmmaking with Martin Scorsese all the way to cooking with the great Gordon Ramsay. In Masterclass, you will find practical lessons that you can apply to your life and work. So guys, get unlimited access to every class, and right now, as a John Campea Show listener, you can get 15% off when you go to masterclass.com/Campea. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off an annual membership. Masterclass.com/Campea. Anyway, what do you think about Zac Snyder's comments, particularly this close to something like this? And at the end of the day, do you think it's going to change anybody's mind?
No, I don't think so. People have already made up their mind about her. I mean, so many times in the comments here, they refer to her as Amber Turd. It's so clever. It's so clever. The whole thing was an absolute mess. It was absolute chaos. That trial, Logan was so into watching clips of stuff on YouTube, and I just could not. This kind of thing I always find just so disgusting and gross. I do not like to watch other people's marriages implode. That is not the kind of schadenfreude I like.
Because I might be wrong about this, but did Depp and her not initially hook up while Depp was already married?
Was Depp married before, or were they just long-term
Oh, they were
partners?
Depp was definitely married before. I just can't remember if he was married or she was married when they first. I can't remember.
I'm not
but
sure.
I might be wrong about that.
Yeah.
I don't follow this clearly.
Yeah.
But I'm like, imagine that. Two people who first hooked up while cheating on one of their other spouses, and the relationship didn't work.
I'm not sure what happened there. Yeah. I'm not sure how that started. I don't know where it started. I don't know where it ended. None of it's my business. Yeah. I don't think this is going to change anyone's mind, though. I think it is a nice little potential boost for this movie of, hey, I really like her. And I think you're right. There does seem to be this kind of overlay in the Venn diagram of people who like Zac Snyder in the Snyderverse and who dislike Amber Heard. And maybe that'll push a few people over into seeing Aquaman 2. Maybe that could help things out.
I mean, we can all agree she ruined Justice League.
Her absolutely her
post-credit scene ruined Justice League.
Her having an English accent or not or something. Like I personally found her so unmemorable in Aquaman. I think so many other actresses could have done this part. I didn't think it was a particularly interesting role. Whereas, you know, her part in Zombieland, I think about all the time. She's killer.
She was in Zombieland?
She's the co-ed who turns at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
She's so good in that. There have been other things where she does a really, really great job. This role for me didn't stand out, so I kind of don't have any stake in the game here. You either like her or you don't. Yeah. And what's really unfortunate is it's something that has nothing to do with any of us. It has nothing to do with her acting. It's just that kind of internet tribalism.
Me, though, even if I don't personally, I have an opinion about someone, that doesn't stop me from seeing the movie.
Yeah.
Also, I think
unless it's there's someone who hurt somebody.
And I understand that too, and I understand voting with your dollar and all that. But yeah, if it's somebody who tremendously harmed someone, and unfortunately it seems like it was two people who continued harming each other. But again, I still don't know all the ins and outs of that situation to be like, well, I'm going to write off every movie.
Right? He's probably just had good experiences with Amber. Like he's never had a problem. That's the way you could hear a lot of stuff about people, but like until I meet them, I judge myself. Maybe that's the way he's doing it. He doesn't care about all the noise. Just his personal experience one-on-one with her maybe has been good, and like so him working with it, wanting to work with her again seems normal to me.
Sure, it does bring up a question though. It's one thing to say something. It's another thing to do something. And would Zac Snyder actually cast Amber Heard in one of his movies again? And listen, I'm not calling Zac a liar. He's saying something supportive. Nothing wrong with that. I would be very, very surprised. Let's just put it that way. If Zac Snyder actually cast her to be in something, because there's no real consequences or fallout from saying, I support this girl, I would cast her again in a second. I mean, you might get some people grumbling at you and mad at you, whatever, but it's another thing entirely to actually do it. Because if you do believe there's enough people out there who hate Amber Heard so much that they're not going to go see anything with her in it, then will Zac Snyder actually, quote unquote, put his money where his mouth is and actually put her in something? And I don't think he will.
But you know what? There's also the thing of there's some people you work with that bring the best out of you.
That's true.
Same with and same thing in relationships. You want to be with the person that brings the best out of you, improves you, not makes you a terrible person. I mean, it's the same thing in your work environment. You want to work with the people that bring the best out of you. So that's probably another thing.
What's that like, Ray?
Maybe all the noise, the noise doesn't matter, and that's all that matters in this situation. You know, I don't know. I don't know them.
You do also have to draw a line though when somebody you work with, because it happens. You have a friend, you have a coworker, you have somebody who you have a great relationship with who hurts people.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So there's
True,
that other layer
true,
too of
true.
you can want to work with people all day long, but if they are problematic and cause mayhem on your set or are hurting others or are being incredibly destructive and putting other people's jobs or lives or et cetera at risk, or at least their livelihoods, then you do have to draw that line. But again, this is something where it's just, there's so much he said, she said, and I have my own opinions on the matter, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, let's just hope it's the best for everybody.
Yeah, but you know, this is one of those unfortunate situations where I don't know the best for everybody is ever going to come out.
Yeah.
I don't think Depp is ever going to have a real established Hollywood career again. I don't think Heard is going to have a real established Hollywood career again, despite what Zac Snyder just said.
And it brings us back to the current trial right now.
With
Even
Jonathan
if he
Majors?
is not, even if he is not guilty, what may come out of this trial may damage him forever.
Well, and then I mean his agency with those comments. So.
And his talent is so. I was riding the Jonathan Majors train. Like when we watched Creed, I was like, this guy's gonna be a force.
He is a force.
Yeah.
He is a force. I was super disappointed when the news first came out. I just
You know, I still think though, depending what's in these sealed documents that they're trying to get out, I still believe everything is so preliminary that if the trial ends and they come straight out and say not guilty verdict, boom, I honestly think he can get right back on track. I really do. I don't think now, but again, who knows? Other things could come out in the trial that may turn things. Again, his own agencies dropped him, stuff like that. So I don't know if there's any lessons to be learned here. At least there's not an Amber Heard factor, say it in the Jonathan Majors one. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. Guys, I am very curious what you think about that. Zac Snyder comes out and says, defends Amber Heard, says he'd work with her again in a second. But really, would he? Would he actually, when money is on the line, actually cast Amber Heard to be in one of his projects? I'll be really surprised if he does, but we'll see. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.